What's going on, guys? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today I'm going to show you how to customize your ODROID GO Advance. We're going to be adding new buttons, a D-pad, and giving the whole case itself an awesome paint job. Now before we get started, I do want to mention that the buttons that come with the ODROID GO Advance are perfectly fine for the handheld itself, but some people might want to add a little color to this thing. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find any shoulder buttons for this thing. These are custom pieces for the ODROID GO Advance, so we'll have to wait on somebody to make some custom buttons. But you can replace the face buttons very easily by using Game Boy Pocket buttons. They fit right in here. You will have to do a little bit of clipping to the nubs that are located on the buttons themselves, but overall, they fit and they work perfectly fine in the ODROID GO Advance. Initially, I wanted to go with the Super Famicom color scheme, but unfortunately, it's going to take about 2 weeks for those buttons to ship to me. So instead, I figured I'd go a little further back and try a DMG color scheme, using maroon buttons and a black D-pad. As for the conductive pads that go underneath the buttons, I'm going to be sticking with the stock pads that come with the ODROID GO Advance. They work fine and they do work with the Game Boy Pocket buttons. So it's easy enough just swapping out the buttons on the Go Advance, but what about changing the whole shell color? Well, this can be done a couple different ways. You could actually dye this using some dye. It's still going to be see-through. Or you could paint it with a polycarbonate paint, and that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. Since the shell is polycarbonate, this paint will stick directly to it, but instead of painting the outside of the case, we're going to paint the inside of the case. Since the shell is transparent, we should still get a really nice color on the outside, and it's also going to protect the paint because all of the paint's going to be on the inside. We'll never be able to scratch it off this way. And if you really feel like you want to still get that transparent look, you can use the transparent polycarbonate paint. They offer it in several different colors, and it's really easy to apply. I'm going to be going with a straight white paint here. Now, I did think about doing a little off color like the original DMG or even a grayish for the NES, but I didn't know if I could match it properly, so I'm just going to go with the white, and I personally think this is going to look really good with those maroon buttons. Now you definitely want to get all this done before you do your initial assembly of the ODROID GO Advance, and if you need help with assembly, I have created a full tutorial. I'll leave a link in the description. So in order to get this painted up properly, we do want to mask off the exterior of the shell itself. We don't want any paint on the exterior, so we're going to be taping this off with some blue painter's tape. And for this step, you're probably going to want to use some scissors or an X-Acto knife. Before we get started here, a word of warning, follow all the directions on the can, use a well-ventilated area. This stuff is super strong. I've used a lot of spray paint, but when it comes to this polycarbonate stuff, this is some really strong stuff. So just be careful with it and follow all the instructions on the can. Also, follow the temperature recommendations on the can. You don't want to be spraying this in the cold outside. It's just not going to stick properly to this polycarbonate. So we do need to mask off the exterior of this shell. I'm going to be using some blue painter's tape. You might also want some scissors and an X-Acto knife. But it's pretty easy to get this all covered up. We want to make sure the entire shell is covered on the exterior. We don't want to get any paint on there. We're painting the interior of the shell, not the exterior. There will be a lot of ways to tape off this shell, but the easiest way I found was just take strips of tape and lap it over each other. I do want to leave some excess on the ends here because I will snip this off with some scissors. And I just went over the whole shell just like this. And when it comes time to clean it up, I just grab my scissors and snip it as close as I can. I do leave a little bit hanging off. That way I can take my fingernail and get that tape seated really nicely on the exterior of this shell. And as for the sides, just take some tape here, line it up as close as possible to the edge, and wrap it right around. Now where these L&R triggers go, I just took my pair of scissors and got it as close as I could. That way the tape conforms to the shape of the shell. And this will be the most time-consuming part. You want to do this to the front half of the shell and the rear half. And here's the front half after I have it all taped up. Now all that's left to do is paint the interior. I'm in a well-ventilated area. It's pretty warm in here. Got some cardboard laid down, and I just want to put a couple light coats on just to get it started. I let this sit for about 1 to 2 minutes, do another coat, and for me, I did 4 coats in total, and it turned out just fine, but you just want to kind of inspect it, make sure you have enough paint on here, but you don't want to oversaturate it and have everything running. I'd say one of the best things you can do is watch an RC car body painting video. It's polycarbonate, they're using the same type of paint here, and I'm sure there's tons of them on YouTube. Once the back half of my case was finished, I moved on to the front. Same thing here, I just put a light coat on it, let it sit for 1 to 2 minutes, and I came back 3 more times, so I have a total of 4 coats on this shell, and it turned out beautifully. So they do recommend 24 hours of dry time, but I let mine sit for 12 and I think it'll be fine. And here it is. I went with the solid color, but if you're using, let's say, a transparent polycarbonate paint, you might only want to do 1 to 2 coats so you can still see through it. For me, I wanted a solid color, and I think this looks amazing. I did get a little overspray where the screen protector sits, but I was actually able to scrape it off with my fingernail pretty easily. So all that's really left to do is install the new buttons, D-pad, and assemble the unit. I have a full assembly video. I'll leave a link for that in the description. So I'm using Game Boy Pocket buttons. One of them fits perfectly without having to do any kind of modification, but all the rest of the buttons will need to be modified. So most of these do have 3 little nubs on the side of the buttons, and as you can see, it's just not going to fit in here. So I had to clip off a few nubs. Now some of these only require clipping off one of the nubs, some of them require clipping off 2 of the nubs, but as long as you have 1 nub left on the button, it's not going anywhere and it's going to fit fine. You might have to clean up the button a little bit with an X-Acto knife or a piece of sandpaper. But once you've done this, the Game Boy Pocket buttons fit perfectly inside of the ODROID GO Advance. And as for the new D-pad, no modification is required whatsoever. Now all that's left to do is assemble the entire unit. So in the end, I think it turned out really nicely. Unfortunately, one of the buttons that I ordered on eBay came marked with a B. I ordered the plain buttons without any markings at all, but somehow a B got into this. I have contacted the seller and he sent me another set. But in the meantime, I actually just went ahead and ordered a bunch of different colors from Handheld Legends. I'll leave a link to that store in the description. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever, but I noticed that they sell tons of different button colors and D-pad colors. So overall, the customization options for the ODROID GO Advance are pretty much endless. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I really appreciate you watching. I will keep you up to date in case anybody makes any custom shoulder buttons for this thing. But in the meantime, I would like to know what kind of color combination you're going to go with on your ODROID GO Advance. So let me know in the comments below. And there's actually one more video that I want to do on customizing this. I would really love to go with a transparent purple on this thing, and you can do that by using some transparent polycarbonate paint, but I would like to dye this. If you guys are really interested in that, I will do a video as soon as I can get my hands on one more shell. But that's it for this one. I will leave links to everything I used in this video in the description, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. But like always, thanks for watching.